Sean Spicer from our exclusive interview just earlier. Joining us now with a reaction. He is the original insurgent, author of Nixon's White House Wars, Patrick J. Buchanan. So you work in the Nixon administration, Pat. You work in the Reagan administration. Do you ever see it this bad? The media this abusively biased and corrupt? Or maybe you did. I've never seen it this bad.
Well, first, I thought Sean Spicer was very gracious in his departure. But, Sean, let me tell you, this is as bad as it was in the final days of Watergate with Richard Nixon. The tremendous overt hostility of the press, the media. Many of those press conferences of Nixon were like things in a Roman forum. And I think the real problem here is the president senses that the media are the enemy. And I think the media, undeniably, if you watch all three networks and you watch the major networks and the press, and the media are as hostile to this president as I've seen to any president or candidate in my lifetime.
So what does he do, Pat? I mean, you've been there. You know how hard it is inside that house, and you see the media acting this way. What do you do?
Well, I'll tell you what's coming. And I think the president senses, we see with regard to Mueller and the special counsel, the president senses these folks are coming after him. I believe they are. They're coming after his campaign. I think they're coming after his family. They're coming after him. They've got investigators and prosecutors who are really steeped in white-collar crime and the rest of it. What is going to happen, Sean, is this. Mr. Mueller's going to make demands after demand after demand. He's going to get some of them. And then the president, I believe, is going to say no more, which is what happened in Watergate and the Saturday Night Massacre. I think there's a real collision coming between Mueller and the President of the United States. You can see it
Pat,
forming
look
up.
at all the conflicts, though. I mean, he hired Hillary Clinton's attorney. He hired all of these donors to Clinton, Obama, and the Democrats. He's best friends with Comey. Comey leaks government information, classified information, to the New York Times to get a special counsel. I mean, these are not normal times here, Pat.
Sean, Archie Cox was a Kennedy man. Teddy Kennedy was at his swearing in. 7 of the first 11 guys he hired were ex-Kennedy McGovern staffers and aides. We knew what that was, and I agree with you. I do think that the special counsel's office is targeting the president. I think they're going to go on and roll over one rock after another until the president says, I've had enough. And then we are right on the road, a familiar one to me, to the Saturday Night Massacre.
Okay, and are you saying that this president could be impeached?
What I'm saying is, I think he's going to have a confrontation with Mueller. However, I don't think the President of the United States, he doesn't have the authority to fire him. The Deputy Attorney General does. He would not do that. The Attorney General's recused himself. I think you can get somebody to fire him if he comes down to that. But let me tell you, during the Saturday Night Massacre, we tried to shut down the special prosecutor's office. And they revived it, and they got Jaworski, a new special prosecutor. I mean, I'm looking at a confrontation here, and unless I'm mistaken, they're going to have something on the president and his family, and he's going to go after Mr. Mueller, and I think you're going to have a real confrontation. As I told you about a week ago, I don't see how this ends well.
Is this all foundationally based on the fact that Attorney General Sessions recused himself? I don't think he should have myself, but I mean, I have great respect for him, but I think that was a mistake.
Let me say this. I admire, respect, and Senator Sessions, I've spoken with him a number of times. I think he's a courageous guy, and he deserved better than his treatment in the New York Times. But I do agree with you on this, Sean. They should never have appointed the special prosecutor. That is a machine that's established, that grows, it's lethal, it tends to become unfriendly, and it comes right at the White House and the West Wing inevitably. It's happened 3 or 4 times.
But Pat, I've been warning about
the appointment of them by Go ahead.
I've been warning about this investigative creep. I know how you feel about mission creep. Now we've got investigative creep. Look at Patrick Fitzgerald. He starts out, he knew on day one who the leaker was, and he continued investigation, ends 3 years later with Scooter Libby because he wouldn't give up the vice president on a perjury charge. That's where we ended up here. I mean, I tend to agree with you. They tend to overreach. Yeah. All right, Patrick J.
But
Buchanan,
here's the thing,
thank you.
Sean. From their
All right, go ahead, last word.
standpoint, they're not overreaching.